Hello again and welcome back to the Daily Mirror's podcast, and today we're looking forward to this weekend's crunch clash at the Emirates where Arsenal will take on Manchester United. The Gunners go into the game on the back of a disappointing midweek draw at Aston Villa, while United are flying after their extraordinary display in a magnificent game against Manchester City on Wednesday night. With me around the table are 3pm columnist and City fan Steve Anglesey, Daily Mirror football writer and Liverpool fan Darren Lewis, and Sunday Mirror reporter and Arsenal fan Will Payne. Steve, we're going to have to start with you, given that you're on the receiving end of what did turn out to be a pretty fantastic United performance on Wednesday night. Who do you fancy?
Don't rub it in.
Sorry.
Don't rub it in so much. Who do I fancy on Sunday? I would have said Arsenal before the Vermaelen injury. I think even though both teams did play on Wednesday and Arsenal, of course, drew with Villa, I think the sort of the emotion of a Manchester derby is going to take more out of you than a game even against a very good team like Aston Villa, a long ball team as we now hear in Arsene Wenger's latest piece of nonsense. But I think the Vermaelen injury and the likelihood of Sol Campbell coming back to replace Vermaelen just tips it in United's balance now. I think Wayne Rooney, who we saw on Wednesday, he was probably the best player in the first leg. He was certainly the best player in the second leg. He's victimised Sol Campbell before. I think we all remember the very dubious penalty in the game which ended the invincible season. I don't know whether Sol Campbell was playing for Arsenal the day that he scored the great goal for Everton, but I believe he was. He's come up against Wayne Rooney before and found him a very tricky customer, and Sol Campbell, who is a couple of years removed from playing at the very highest level, that looks like a very worrying thing to me. I mean, Vermaelen is still not ruled out. It's not a fracture.
No, the good news is scans are confirmed he's not broken his leg, it's not fractured, but he is highly unlikely to play at the weekend.
And Eduardo definitely out, which again is, and again we go back to what we mention constantly, is Arsenal have had terrible luck with injuries in the last 2 or 3 seasons, but is it an indictment of the way Arsene runs his team that there are so few people to come in?
Yeah. On the plus side up front, maybe on the plus side, depending on which side of the fence you sit in. Nicholas Bentner likely to return, certainly to the squad at the weekend. Will, big game for your boys. Steve's alluded to the fact that Rooney's on fire at the moment. What are your thoughts about the game?
Yeah, I'd say that it's going to be very tough. I mean, as Steve said, Vermaelen's going to be a massive miss. I mean, he's been brilliant this year. I'd say been our best signing, one of the best signings in the Premiership this year. He's been absolutely superb. Sol has impressed me in the last couple of games, actually, but he's only good when the ball's coming onto him. He's not very good if it gets knocked over his head. Rooney's in amazing form, and he will struggle up against him. One thing I would say, which is going to work in our favour, is Song's going to be back from the African Nations Cup, which is a massive thing for us. He's crucial to our team because we haven't got any balance in midfield without him. Yesterday, Denilson, Ramsey and Fabregas was far too lightweight. So, I'm still confident, because I always am to an extent, but yeah, I'd say a draw is probably the most likely, but that's no good to us, really, to Arsenal. Sure. I think we need to definitely get 8 points from the next 4 games, including yesterday's game. And I'd say we can't lose to Chelsea. We've got to beat United and we've got to beat Liverpool at home. So we need to win. I can probably see it being a draw.
Darren, Will's saying there he's frightened of balls over the top of the back four for United, and that's not necessarily the way they play. Rooney does tend to come deep and would allow Campbell to come with him. But you're the neutral in the pack here. What do you think?
I think United are going to win. I think they're in fantastic form. I think that Arsenal are very fragile, and I think Rooney's got this new style of. If you look at the stats, all of his 21 goals this season have come inside the box. That's where he's now doing his best work. Fabio Capello wants him there, causing problems for defenders. And I think that he's going to do exactly what he's done against City and so many other teams this season to Arsenal. As Steve rightly pointed out, he's got a form against them. He'll worry the life out of Sol Campbell. He's confident that he's going to be able to cope with Rooney, but I just think Rooney's got so much guile. It's not just his composure in front of goal, it's his guile, it's his ability to create space for himself, to drop off. Song's going to be back, as you rightly say, but I don't know if he's... Because who picks Rooney up? That's the big problem.
That really is.
Song.
Yeah.
Song does. I think...
Well, does he? Because, Rooney's not like... Rooney's not going to play that deep. He's going to, he really is going to push on into the box. And I think that the Arsenal defence could be all over the place.
But one thing I will say, Gallas is in absolutely superb form. He was brilliant yesterday for us. And I think, I don't think it was a disappointing result yesterday. I think drawing at Aston Villa at the moment, Man United lost there, I think, Chelsea lost there, I think. So
you're absolutely right, all three of the other 4 teams.
So it's actually, in any other context, would have been a good result.
It's actually a point, yeah, if you look at it that way.
3-0 at our place, getting 4 points off Villa.
Do you think that, like I do, though, that Manchester United can get behind Arsenal in the same way that they got behind Manchester City? City were defending quite deep again, but were very, very largely unworried by anything that came through the middle. But as soon as the ball got to the byline, they were in all sorts of problems.
The big problem with City is we were all wondering how they were going to approach the game, whether they were going to be really defensive and sit back and challenge United to break them down, or whether were going to go on the offensive, which obviously would have left they would have been open to the counter attack from United, and they're so good at that. I think United are going to do similar to what they did to City. They're going to really push to the byline. They're going to try and get balls in from wide areas, because we know that how did that goal come for Stoke? That knocked them out of the FA Cup from a wide area into the box. Ricardo Fuller knocked it.
We will have our 2 first choice fullbacks for this game.
You will indeed. But then just looking very quickly at the way that Ashley Young took Gal Clichy to the cleaners last night. But I mean, I was at Villa Park and I saw Ashley Young had an absolutely outstanding game. You could argue Gal Clichy just coming out for injury, but he didn't look good at Villa Park last night.
He didn't, but I would argue that Man United haven't got anything on the flanks to rival Ashley Young.
You don't think Luis Valencia's no good enough?
I think he's average.
He's scored goals this season. He's quick. He gets to the byline, puts a good ball in.
I think he hasn't got a trick. He can't beat a man.
He doesn't need a trick. He just slings it back in. Ronaldo used to step over the ball, but Valencia just sticks it in.
I think Valencia's an average player. I don't rate him very high.
Will, do you think there's a question mark about Arsenal's mental toughness potentially? I mean, 6-7 weeks ago they were 11 points adrift, kind of written out of the title race, then went on that great run. Now they're right back in the mix. They were top a couple of weeks ago. They've had a little stutter. Is there a problem? Do they suffer from being favourites?
Yeah, well, I mean, Arsenal have had a problem with their mental toughness since Wenger's been there. Post, the old school players that were there. I mean, that's something that we've always struggled with and has always been questionable. We're like, it takes a little setback and it can knock us back more than any other team. I mean, when we lost our unbeaten run to Manchester United, I would suggest that Ferguson would have used that to galvanise the team and said, right, come on, let's prove that we are still the best team in the country. We ended up losing the next couple of games. I mean, we've always been like that, and we still are. And, you look at the team and you think, who are the leaders in that team? Gallas, I would say, probably is one. Vermaelen probably is one. He's not going to be there on Sunday, it doesn't look like. Sol, questionable, potentially mentally, but, he has got a bit of a winning mentality, I'd suggest. I don't know, yeah, I would say that all Wenger's teams lack a little bit when it comes to sort of real mental strength.
Sure, yeah. I mean, amidst the build-up to Wednesday night's Carling Cup semi-final and the inevitable fallout since, Carlo Ancelotti's comments in the week about Wayne Rooney kind of got missed. They didn't get a great deal of column inches. For anyone who did miss it, the Chelsea boss suggested that without Wayne Rooney, United simply don't win the title. Steve, is he right?
I agree completely. I think they're quite an ordinary team without him. I think we spoke last week about the deficiencies in the United midfield, which I do not think is great, although Darren Fletcher did have a very good game against City. I'm not still unconvinced by Michael Carrick, and Giggs and Scholes, terrific players, but ageing. I just think without Rooney, that they really... Who are the other Manchester United players who are world class apart from Wayne Rooney? I would suggest the goalkeeper and Rio Ferdinand, who at the moment is not fully fit, and that's probably not going to win you the league, I wouldn't say.
Everett is world class.
Everett's world class.
Yes.
And not only that, I think Rio will get fit over time. I mean, the run of games that they've got will help him to be able to...
Do you think...
Certainly. Well, he's not going to get fit for the next 4 games.
Well, no, but I mean, I just think he will pick up, and I think as the season goes on. I mean, as Sir Alex has always said, it's around about Easter, really, where you can sort out who is going to go on and win the league. And if United are there or thereabouts by then they'll be fine.
But with the World Cup this time, Easter, is going to be quite near the end of the season. You can't hang around going, we'll wait till Easter and then get on a spurt.
No.
They've got to do it now.
Well, you can't, but I mean, they're bang there anyway, and they've hardly have their first choice defenders available. As everyone says, they're so reliant on Rooney, but he's only scored 21 of their goals so far this season. They are still there. They still manage to worry the life out of opponents, and I think they'll beat Arsenal on Sunday.
Yes. Well, we'll see. I mean, it's going to be potentially it's a cracking game. Let's hope it lives up to the hype as the City United semi-final did. Steve, just turning back to City just briefly. Mark Hughes was sacked after, I think, 2 defeats in the first half of the season. Roberto Mancini, after a brilliant start, now they lost to Everton at the weekend.
Yeah, he's now suffered 2 defeats as well. Yeah,
but I mean, it seems preposterous to ask this question, but is the pressure starting to build on him already?
Well, I think the pressure's been on him from the start, in that he went there knowing that if he didn't finish in the top 4, he was very likely to get the sack. And I'm sure that even if City did finish in the top 4, they will still move heaven and earth in the summer to bring in Jose Mourinho, who is a guy who has got experience of winning in English football, which Roberto Mancini, for all his great points, does not have. And I think you could see on Wednesday night, I've never seen a Premier League manager look as nervous before a game or as bewildered at half-time as Roberto Mancini did. Yeah. Now, I'm not knocking the fella by any stretch of the imagination, but it's clearly going to take more than a scarf and a happy smile to sort out the defensive problems he did. It was interesting last night. On Wednesday night, he made a couple of interesting decisions. The decision to play the kid Boyata, I thought, was, he just about got away with it, but maybe Nedum Manua would have been a safer bet. Very defensive again. I think one good thing that Arsenal have got in their favour is that they won't sit back, and this is a team, Manchester United team, that can be got at, particularly down the right-hand side, where I think they're very, very, very vulnerable at the moment. Also, I mean, Mancini has also got to sort out the conundrum of what is his best midfield.
Can I ask you a question,
the Stephen Ireland thing, as I think we touched on this when Mark Hughes was the manager, and we still touch on it now. I don't understand how a player who was so dominant last season, probably how he didn't win Young Player of the Year last season is completely beyond me. I thought he should have won that, and Ashley Young should not have won it. And he has managed to completely disappear, been played out of position, on the bench, had a little injury, not really come back into it, played late last night and didn't really make an impact.
Why is Mancini going for all of these midfielders? I mean, he was in for Flamini. Flamini decided not to come. Gago at Real Madrid is in for him. He's obviously bought Vieira as well. I mean, you're right about Vieira. I'm staggered at how... I often think Arsenal should maybe go in for Ireland because he'd be a brilliant Arsenal-type player. But I think he's been wasted at City, and the fact that Mancini's going for so many midfielders, where are they going to play?
Yeah.
And what does it mean for the ones who've already got?
He obviously likes De Jong, who we all like. I think Gareth Barry has tailed off a little bit, but clearly Gareth Barry's carrying a long-term hernia injury, isn't he? Which he really needs sorting out, and maybe that will be sorted out now, and he can bring in Vieira. But the failure of both these managers to really get Stephen Ireland right bewilders me, because he is a classic Frank Lampard type, arriving in the box at the crucial moment at the end of a move, and really when you saw the Manchester City team in that Carling Cup final, in the Carling Cup semi-final, I wish final. Sean Wright-Phillips, not a prolific scorer, although he has scored some great goals great goals against United. Really, that team there were only 2 people in that team who were really likely to score.
Absolutely.
And Stephen Ireland is somebody who we know. I think he 10, 12 goals last season.
But I think he should go to Arsenal. But of course,
we've got a lot of those kind of players, though. That's not the kind of player we need. He's a great player, and he would probably get into our side. But do we need another small, nippy, creative player? I don't know if we do, really. I think there's more important positions to fill than that. I'm not saying I'd love him to come, but if I had a choice of players, he wouldn't be top of my list, but not because of his ability, purely because of the type of player he is. And we've got lots of players like that.
Just to answer your question, I think Mancini is bang in trouble, and he's got to keep winning now, because Spurs have made an inspired signing in Gudjohnsen. I know we're going to talk about him in a bit, but I just
can't believe that. I can't believe you're saying that.
I don't know. No. I think in the right side, they play regularly. Keane's tailed off. Keane's lost something since he's come back from Liverpool. Oh, we'll do it now. But I mean, he's come back from Liverpool. He's not the same player, Ian.
Well, he's not. He's certainly not had the impact at Tottenham that he had the first time around. But I mean, slightly bigger picture. Harry Redknapp has been talking all season about. He talks all the time about how it's important to have 4 strikers. He has 4 strikers, then says 4's too many, I only need 3. Now, unless he does manage to ship out Pavlyuchenko or Keane in the next 72 hours or so, he's going to have 5. Darren.
Well, I mean, the Birmingham obviously want to buy Pavlyuchenko, and I think they're haggling, and the price will eventually be right, and Pavlyuchenko will definitely go. I think, I know Villa are sniffing around Keane, Celtic is sniffing around Keane. The fact that Redknapp's brought in a 31-year-old Ida Gudjohnsen, 32 in September, indicate, because you're not going to bring a player like that in unless he's going to play at his age, and given the options that he had, which means he will play and Defoe will play and Keane won't play.
But as much as you say, what does this mean for Robbie Keane? What's happened to Robbie Keane? Harry Redknapp has this reputation of being a fantastic manager. Now, if he's not getting the best out of Robbie Keane, what's that say about Harry Redknapp?
Well, I think the problem was with Keane rather than with Redknapp. And I think Keane maybe needs a change of scenery or a break.
Another one.
Well, I mean,
he does like a move.
To be fair to Keane, if Liverpool come in for you, you go. I mean, I know they're my team.
Well, he's a Liverpool fan, so yeah.
Absolutely, and they're in the Champions League, and he had an opportunity to play at that level, play alongside Torres, or so he thought, so he went. But I think, it obviously didn't work out for him. You go back. If you go back to Spurs, you play. If you're not playing, you've got to go. At his age, and what is he, 30, he's got to play.
Of course, but presumably there were other options other than Tottenham. I mean, Will, what have you made?
I've
North London rivals. What
never rated him that highly. I think he's always flattered to deceive. He's obviously got bags of ability.
He's got 100 goals in 7 years at Spurs. That's a little bit unfair.
I'm sorry, no, look, okay, that's just my opinion. I think he's flattered to deceive. I think that he is one of those players, bags of ability, and does lots of fancy things well, but quite often flicks in and out of games. I just don't rate him that highly. But having said that, I'm not a massive fan of Crouch either. I think I personally think they're 2 best strikers there, Pavlyuchenko and Defoe. I think Pavlyuchenko will. I think someone will get a lot out of Pavlyuchenko. He's obviously got ability, but they're just not using him right. Or
I do
he
agree
will go
with that.
somewhere and do a very good job.
Yeah, I do think Pavlyuchenko will go somewhere and score a lot of goals. He's young enough to obviously, with regular first team football, do the bizzo for someone. Keane, I'm not so sure. I think Keane may be reaching a point that, I don't know, he's tailing off. And maybe he just needs a change of scenery. If he goes somewhere else, maybe he can.
And how many clubs has he played for, Keane? I mean, Tottenham's the longest.
Not as many as you think.
No,
I think it's about 4
but he's played for some great teams as well.
Not for very long.
He had a lot of moves early in his career, didn't he?
And Inter Milan, he was there for a while. He did okay, and then somebody came in, didn't fancy him. It wasn't his fault, so you can't blame him for that. He came back to England. He played for Leeds. He did brilliantly for Leeds. And then obviously he came to Spurs and he's a legend.
I just feel that teams are always willing to lose him. It's like, Leeds, he was there, you say he did brilliantly, but they didn't fight that hard to keep him. They could have kept him.
They got an offer they couldn't refuse.
Leeds were a better side, the bigger side than Tottenham in that period.
Well, I don't know whether they were beginning to see the writing on the wall or
possibly
financially. I don't know.
Maybe.
Imagine if he went to Celtic, he would absolutely tear the place up.
Well, he'd be fantastic at Celtic. Would he be playing in? Let's be honest. Do
you think he'd be better than Georgios Samaras?
Well, exactly. Georgios Samaras can score. I remember when John Hartson, who thankfully is recovering from his illness, but I remember when he went up there, he wasn't scoring that many goals down south. But when he went up there, he filled his boots.
He filled that shirt as well, didn't he? It was a very unflattering shirt.
Hooks are not flattering for John.
For a larger man, no.
I'm interested, Darren, in your opinion of Gudjohnsen. I completely disagree. I think he can't get in the Barca side.
Well, it's
obviously
that's why he can't get into the Barca side.
But he hasn't held down. He hasn't had regular first team football for how long? 3 years.
Well,
maybe?
no, that's not quite true. He played 11 games at Monaco. Didn't manage to get on the score sheet and didn't do so brilliantly there. But I think he wasn't suited to French football. I think English football will suit him. I think Harry Redknapp will know how to play him. And I'm sorry, but you just cannot question Harry Redknapp's record with older players. You know, you have a player like Gudjohnsen. If Harry Redknapp sees in him somebody who can score goals, who are we to question him? His record is with older players, as you know, David James, Paolo Di Canio, Trevor Sinclair, you know, is impeccable. And I just think if Harry Redknapp sees something in him that he thinks can get Spurs into the Champions League, who are we to argue?
Marco Boogers was quite old, wasn't he? I don't know. He's been away for a long time. He was never, was he? I mean, apart from the first season, he was never really a total first choice at Barcelona, was he?
No, and I think you're right about that. But again, you know, if you get the chance to go to Barcelona, even though if you're on the fringes, you go.
Well, yeah, no, I don't disagree. And at the time,
he was fading from Chelsea, but he wasn't even.
I don't think anyone's disputing that, but whether he can come in now and pick up the pace of the Premier League and make the difference that you're talking about, Darren, to cement them in that fourth spot.
He's got the air of the Freddie Lundberg to West Ham about this for me. I find it a completely bizarre move.
I think he's good in the air, he's good on the deck, and I think with regular first team football, he'll be a big hit. Listen, these could be famous last words, and you know, I could be wrong, but I don't know. I think for Redknapp, he's got to get them in the top four. I think he will have looked at him and seen something in Gudjohnsen that can make this work.
Well, we'll see. Again, time will tell on that signing, and next week we'll be looking at some of the transfer deadline signings and giving our thoughts on whether there'll be hits or misses, as is always the want at this time of year. Right, finally, just time for us to talk about our brand new feature that we'll be doing every week. We started last week and seemed to be popular. It's time for Heroes and Villains. Will, your hero and villain for this week?
I haven't decided my hero and villain yet.
I'll do mine first.
Darren, you go first.
My hero of the week, Wayne Rooney. Brilliant performance again. Tore Manchester City apart, helped them to realise that money can't buy trophies. But I do think, obviously, that City will bounce back from this. My villain, Arsene Wenger. Aston Villa a long ball team? I don't think so.
No, very, very interesting comments from Wenger last night. Very, very strange. Steve?
Hero of the week or heroes of the week. I think it was really nice to see that in a time of financial trouble, the Manchester United fans throwing coins onto the pitch for the Glazers to collect, and that will go some way to making their repayment burden a little easier this month. So thank you to the United fans for that. And villain of the week, I think he's not my villain of the week, but if I was a Thompson Holiday executive, my villain of the week would be Terry Venables, because when his orangeness and his amazing tan was put against Jamie Redknapp in the commentary box on Wednesday night, it looked like that Thompson Holiday that Jamie's been advertising with Louise must have been in the least sunny place ever, despite Jamie playing topless golf throughout it. So my villain of the week, very, very definitely, is from a Thompson Holidays perspective, is Terry Venables.
Right, on that note, we'd just like to make clear that there are other holiday companies available, and Steve Anglesey would be grateful to receive a freebie from any of you out there. So if First Choice or Horizon or any of you guys are listening, you know where to get in touch with Steve.
Or a spray tan from wherever Terry is getting it. It's absolutely incredible now, isn't it?
Well, and you are sporting a similar style goatee there.
We've got our goatees in common. But he was oranger than Wes Brown on Wednesday night, which is oranger. Yeah, that's the word, isn't it? So I just thought it was a tremendous performance by the little fella.
Finally, Will, please bring back some sanity to the proceedings. Hero and villain.
I have to say, I'm desperately trying to think of them, and I can't come up with any at the moment. I suppose the first one that popped into my head. I mean, I have to agree with Darren to an extent, although it pains me to say it. What Wenger said last night was just ridiculous about the long ball team, and it really doesn't do us any favours. And Arsenal fans find it hugely frustrating when he comes out with stuff like that, seemingly for no reason, when we haven't got the result that we want.
I'm writing about the fact that you drop points at Aston
Well,
Villa.
no, I don't even think it's that. I just think he's a bit of a sore loser, and it is because he hasn't got the result he wants. And you know, it was a fair game, probably deserved in a draw. They had chances, we had chances. I don't really understand that, but I couldn't possibly give him the Villa in the week. That would be ridiculous. I couldn't say that. Hero of the week, I suppose, yeah, Rooney. I mean, you know, scoring 5 goals in a week. You know, just hope it ends there and doesn't continue for Sunday. So I suppose he'd have to be the hero. And I have to say, I wanted United to win yesterday, because I quite like better than the devil you know sort of thing. Than I don't really want Man City to become another title challenger. And
Villain of the week.
Villain of the week.
It's okay. We will wait.
Yeah. I genuinely can't think of one. I apologise.
Well, it's nice to end on a positive note. Our guest from the Sunday Mirror is such a sunny guy, you can't find a villain of the piece anywhere, which is very, very strange. Anyway, that's it from all of us for this week. Thanks again to the chaps around the table. As I say, we'll be back next week when one of the main topics of conversation will be the close of the transfer window and what that means for the teams at the top and the bottom of the Premier League. We'll see you then.